Welcome, I'm Tommy the Keyblade Master, and welcome to my channel. I'm going to be doing another vlog for today, June 27th, just talking about what's happened over the last few weeks. A few big stories caught my eye, but I haven't had time to sit down and think about them or even emote them. First, I guess I should talk about Capcom. A lot of people are going around saying that they are for sale. From what I've seen, that's not exactly true. What they've done is they've allowed themselves to be able to get hostily taken over. Basically, it's a stock market term, meaning someone can go in and buy 51% of their stake, in which stock, in which case the stake is so huge that that person now controls the company. It's not quite the same as sell out. I think when you sell out, it means you sell all your shares to one company, and the current stockholders are then given money equal to the value of their share. So that company basically goes away into another one, completely new ownership. This a hostile takeover still allows Capcom to have some shares of their stock, so some control, but not much if this happens. It's not good either way. And it's kind of a shame. If you're a long-term gamer, you grew up on a lot of Capcom games. We had a bunch of Capcom Disney games in the early 80s and 90s. DuckTales, Rescue Rangers, several based off movies like The Little Mermaid were all pretty good games. Um, you know, Even up to the PS2 era, you had a few decent Mega Man games on portables, and then you had games like Devil May Cry or Resident Evil. So they've been making great games for a while, and it's kind of a shame to see what's happened the last few years. I always thought if Capcom would go out, they would be going out trying to cling to their fan base. We'll just keep on making Mega Man games and Street Fighter games and not innovating. But anyone who's really seen Capcom long term knows, yeah, they will rehash a lot of stuff, but they also innovate from time to time to keep things new and fresh. Mega Man didn't last as many years with as many sequels because none of his games were fun. Most of them are pretty fun. There's a few bombs. Mega Man X7 immediately pops into mind, but most of his games were fun. So what happened? Well, I would say sometime around 2011. I don't know what happened after Inafune left. It seemed like Capcom went from a company that wanted to hold on to its fan base to a company who disrespected its fan base, at least its American fan base. It kind of turned bipolar in a very bad way. It wanted to court the West by acting like a Western company, and by a Western company, I meant EA and Activision. And I kind of hate to tell Capcom, but most Americans really don't like EA and Activision. We like some of the games their studios produce. If you want to play a football game, an American football game, you have to go through EA. There is no other company that really makes football games. So that's where you go to. Activision, we of course like the companies that make their Call of Duty games. But, that's really it. We don't have a great love for the companies, and we really hate it when they try to screw us, EA especially. And then I saw Capcom doing some of the same dick moves. DLC on the disc day one, overpriced for what you got. And it seemed like, you should stick to selling the game first. And then, like I said, then they started to crap on the fans. And I know every fanboy says that whenever they get something they don't like. But when they released DMC, that really showed some bad marketing. The thing is, DMC is a pretty decent game as far as gameplay goes. I would say it's better than the other Devil May Cries. But rather than inviting old fans to experience this new way to play as Dante, Capcom went out of its way to seem to exclude him. They changed the character of Dante 180 to what he was in the beginning of that series. No longer just slightly perverted in a funny way Japanese samurai devil hunter. He became this really crude young man who was slightly psychotic. I did not enjoy the character. Game's good, but I did not enjoy the character. And that's kind of where the crux led. I mean, rather than, like I said, most reboots want the old fans to come in and join it. Think like Metroid Prime. I mean, that changed the Metroid series to a first-person shooter, but at the same time, they wanted to make sure fans knew that it kept what was essential about Metroid. Here it's like, well, we don't really care. If you like the old DMC, we don't want you to play it. And if you understand what I'm talking about, Resident Evil fans get the same treatment. I mean, Capcom went out and said that if you like the old Resident Evil, well, you're too old to be playing games and we don't care about you. So, basically, and the fan base pretty much feels like Capcom's telling them to fuck off. Excuse my language. But that's what we're telling them in a sense. And it's kind of a shame. And it's not like Capcom's been a total loss. I mean, last year they released DuckTales remake, which was stellar. Even got a physical disc release. And then they also released a new Ace Attorney game for the 3DS, which took off and surprised Capcom. And I'm like, yeah, duh. These are your old games. This is the way you used to make games. They're Japanese games, but they're well-made Japanese games with your logo on it. We don't want you pretending to be an American company. We want you to make good Japanese games. And yeah, another part of them is they went into the mobile market. And I guess floundered a little bit, but that's kind of an Asian thing. Their mobile market's bigger, and I can understand them wanting to do that. You perceive your view of the world by the home territory. That didn't tick me off as much as what they said and did to us console gamers over here. Basically, Capcom, I don't think you need to sell your company as much as you need to get rid of a few people on top and get rid of your marketing team. They're failing you miserably. Now that I got that out of the way, let's talk about something a little happier and a little bit more shocking. PlayStation Now was released, or pricing, and good God. Now I had kind of hoped for this, that Sony would allow us to buy or rent games dirt cheap. Hopefully they'll turn it into a service, because if they think I'm going to pay $30 for a 90-day rental on a game that I can get at a bargain bin price of less than $10 on my old system, they're freaking nuts. So let's just hope that pricing is just an experiment in the beta stage. It's too early to really get angry about it. I think it's a great idea if Sony can pull it off, if they can make the PlayStation Now service reliable. Because they're going to expand it beyond just PlayStations. I mean, $100 for a little box that lets me stream PlayStation 1, 2, and 3 games sounds like a great deal, but they gotta make the games affordable. This isn't doing it. So let's hope they go back to the drawing board when it comes to their prices. I have great hopes for this, Sony. I think it's a good idea, provided you can get the bandwidth. And if you can make it even better, a download service also as an option, I would appreciate that too. But still, a streaming service, if it works, seems like an interesting idea. Finally, one last thing before I go. Nintendo lost a lawsuit to Philips on patent violations. I think this is going to get thrown out when it's appealed. Hopefully. If it's not thrown out, this will be a major game changer for the industry. The Wii U will not be able to be sold, and it will mean that, hey, those cheap Wii U's that are collecting dust might become a collector's item one of these days. We'll just have to see. Hopefully they'll be able to appeal it. After all, anyone who knows what Philips did to Nintendo characters in the mid-90s definitely knows why a lot of Nintendo fanboys are rooting for Nintendo, because Philips made those god-awful Zelda CDI games. However, this has nothing to do with it. If Nintendo did infringe, then yeah, they owe money or have to stop selling the console. Hopefully that won't happen. Well, that's all for today. Please click like if you liked my little rant, and please subscribe to my channel. Tommy the Keyblade Master out.